possible. I'm investing in my dog's health and happiness.
Get started at longlivedogs.com.
Curology completely changed the game for my skin.
I was skeptical at first, but Curology is different.
A dermatology provider created a custom formula that was gentle for my skin. Curology helped me get my confidence back.
Because it works.
Start the school year with clear skin.
Introducing MyPhoto Acrylic Blocks. Now you can turn photos on your phone into amazing acrylic works of art. Starting at just $12, they're fun to collect and perfect to gift. Visit myphoto.com to receive 50% off your second item. That's myphoto.com. Order today.
CNN Special Report. Toxic. Britney Spears' battle for freedom. Tonight at 8.
President Biden enjoyed a growing economy and a slowing pandemic in the first few months of his presidency. But now crises abroad and at home are hurting the White House as it aims to pass two major pieces of legislation. Biden's approval has fallen to 45%. He says a resurgence in the pandemic is to blame.
Not just members of Congress, Democrat. And Republicans frustrated by, I thought this was going to be better. I thought everything was working out. We were moving along on COVID-19, and now we have all these people who refuse to get a shot. And now look at the people dying. Large numbers of people dying.
Hey, look, everything is coming down in the next couple of weeks for the agenda. And we're going to get into midterm campaign season soon after, and then who knows what happens after the midterms. Does he have the political capital, Sungmin, do you think, to get moderates and progressives, frankly, to fall in line?
That is the hope of the White House and for Democratic leaders. And again, as his poll numbers have dropped, we haven't seen Democrats kind of distance themselves from the president, as we often do when, a person in the White House and their public approval drops. But this legislation, the infrastructure legislation, the reconciliation legislation is really also a test of President Biden as deal maker. And we saw that this week when he inserted.
Well, it started off at $6 trillion. Now it's $3.5 trillion. Now it's going to be 2.9. It's going to be zero.
And he's trying to make the argument it's not going to impact the debt. Can moderates, do you think, be persuaded by this argument by the White House?
We'll see, but I think the reason why we heard the president say that and make that case so forcefully is that there was a recognition at the White House this week that talk of a top-line number had kind of gotten out of hand and had kind of gotten outside of their control. And so this was a clear attempt to kind of try and refocus, reshape the debate around not a top-line number, but instead around what this bill will actually do. When you heard the president say that, when he was saying this is about child tax credits, this is about paid family leave, right? So, we'll see if he's successful in actually being able to reshape. That debate, but it was a clear recognition that this was getting out of hand and that they needed to reframe it. And I think part of the previous framing was largely because of people like Joe Manchin, who was talking about, I can't support 3.5. So Joe Biden is trying to reshape it around priorities and not numbers. But at the end of the day, we're still seeing those numbers drive the.
Numbers are still important.
Right. I mean, look at the difference between what he says in public and what he said in those meetings, right? He said. The public message, and this was Nancy Pelosi's message as well last week was, it doesn't matter what the numbers are. It's about values. It's about the programs that are in there. We're paying as we go.
It does matter what the numbers are.
But in the room with Joe Manchin, it does matter what the numbers are, and that's what Biden told him and said, you have to let us know what your bottom line is, because yes, it is true they are talking about paying for this whole package, but the scope of the package does matter. They're trying to do all these really, really ambitious programs, and the more programs they do, the more things that they expand and add to what is already the social safety net, the more they're going to have to pay for. Or with tax increase.
This moment, getting these bills done, in their chances to hold on to one or both chambers next year.
It puts a ton of pressure on the reconciliation bill and the infrastructure bill. You've seen these other priorities sort of gradually slip away. Not a surprise that voting rights isn't going to happen. It's been stalled out. I'm stalled out for a while. Not a surprise necessarily that police reform isn't going to happen. That's also been stalled out a while. But as it becomes clearer and clearer, these things are not going to happen in these narrow Democratic majorities. There's a ton of pressure to finish the jobs and families plan. They need to do that. It will be a big deal if they are able to do that. They will be able to say they've had a successful Congress. If those things fall apart, they have the American Rescue Plan, but that'll have been way in the rearview mirror. They're going to need things to sell to the voters next year. Child tax credit. I mean, they let that expire at the end of the year, and they can't have a deal on.
I emailed you the diversity, equity, and inclusion report from SHRM.
Oh, that's great.
We believe you. You will bring a new perspective, so we'd like to offer you the position.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Now more than ever, SHRM has the tools you need to create a world of work that works for all. Join SHRM today.
WW has taught me how to live a great, sustainable lifestyle. I can eat the foods that I love. With WW, I have lost 78 pounds.
WW, weight loss that works, wellness that works. Lose 10 pounds on us. Join today at WW.com. Offer ends September. Call. Your doctor about fever, stiff muscles, or confusion, which can mean a life-threatening reaction, or uncontrollable muscle movements, which may be permanent. Dizziness upon standing, falls, and impaired judgment.
I really wanted to become a nurse. Amazon helped me with training and tuition. Today, I'm a medical assistant, and I'm studying to become a registered nurse. Hindi ko kayo makakalimutan.
You need an Ecolab Scientific Clean here. And you need it here. And here.
You won't be seeing me much longer. Right.
Migrant camp under a bridge along the Texas border that once housed nearly 15,000 people. Is now empty. Chaotic scenes at the border became international news last week. Especially because of pictures like these.
It was horrible what to see, as you saw. To see people treated like they did, horses barely running them over, people. Being strapped, it's outrageous. I promise you, those people will pay.
But leaders of both parties blame the administration.
And so people fell into three buckets. They were released into the United States if they met a vulnerability. For example, if they were pregnant or met some other vulnerability, determination, they went back to Mexico because they saw that they'd be deported to Haiti, and many of them haven't been to Haiti since the 2010 earthquake when they went to South America. And then they were also expelled to Haiti, and that is where you got that criticism from Democrats who argued, why should these people who go back to a country that they are less familiar with than when they left? And that has been rattled by an earthquake and an assassination of a president.
And Joe, you wrote a book about immigration, and you heard Maxine Waters here saying, the administration is following.
You have to stay in Mexico until we are ready to hear your claim. That is still in place because of court rulings. So yes, there are some elements of the Trump policy that are still there, and that's why you're hearing all of this vitriol from Democrats. The interesting thing to me is that, The approach of President Trump and President Biden are completely different. President Biden is projecting this very humane, welcoming approach. And Trump projected just the opposite. But the big difference here is that President Trump's base was so much with him on this issue, they trusted him to no matter what he did, any policy he put in place, the Republican base, we saw this week on the political level was Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, obviously the most powerful Democrat in the Senate, said he opposed the administration's using that Title 42 policy, and he urged the Biden administration to end that policy. Another immigration issue this week, we saw that the Biden administration announced their refugee admissions levels for the next coming year. Now that is the level that pleased advocates that the Biden administration had promised when President Joe Biden was a candidate. But remember that backlash earlier this year, back in April, when President Biden announced that he was going to keep the Trump era refugee levels, and there was such a furious backlash from advocates, and they actually reversed themselves. That same day. So we see how immigration, the issue of migration, these tough crises going on the border, have really been a struggle for President.
So it was an example of the White House showing she was connected to the issue in some way, but she repeatedly said that she's focusing on the root causes of migration and that the border is a separate matter. What we are learning and seeing in real time is that you really can't separate the two.
Yeah, I really can't. This is
shows 97% less breakage. Strong hair with new Dove Breakage Remedy. That was fun.
Alexa, play our dance playlist.
Your playlist, dance.